A bad banana with a greasy black peel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Atheist Experience, the Christmas edition. Or actually, let me clarify, the holidays edition.
Right, we're getting in the spirit.
Yes, we're getting in the spirit of the season and all the merriness that's going on. So, decided to have a fun show today. Anyway, welcome. This is December 19th, and we are live. I'm your host today, Ashley Perrien. My co-host this week, Don Baker.
Hello.
And
good to be here.
Guest this week, Tim Suto.
Howdy.
So, they both have got things to talk about today, and I've got a couple news stories if we get to them, but that's not such a big deal. This is a live call-in show. We'll be getting calls in a little while, and like I say, if you have any questions or comments, please keep watching, and we'll put the phone number up eventually. As for right now, this is the Atheist Experience. We're being sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings every Sunday at Crescent City Beignets. Sorry. Just our crew going a little weird. Anyway, Crescent City Beignets at 11:30 every Sunday. It's an open meeting. It's open to any atheist-friendly people. You don't need to be a member of the group or anything like that. You can come down and meet us there. That's on 6th Street, a couple blocks west of Lamar, every Sunday at 11:30 until about 1, 2 o'clock or so. Also, every Monday night, actually, let me step back a second. We have the meeting Sunday. We have the TV show right now. After the TV show, what we've been doing is we all go out and have dinner, the cast and crew and, you know, a couple other people who want to join us. It's very much like the Sunday meeting. Atheist-friendly people come down and enjoy a burger with us. We are going to Chili's tonight, which is on the southeast corner of I-35 and 183. The show ends at 6 o'clock. We'll be getting there around 6:45. We'll try and have a little poster on the table to identify us. But like I say, if you're watching and you want to come down and meet some of us, please feel free to. Okay, other regular things that we do. Every Monday night, we have Godless Gamers at the House of Russell Glasser. If you go on our website, atheist-community.org, you can get details there and write to the webmaster. That's actually the person that's hosting it and give you information. We sit around, play board games, card games, role-playing games, anything that kind of catches our fancy. That's every Monday night at 7:30. Or actually, I'm sorry, 7 o'clock. And our final meeting we have on Thursdays. Thursday night at 7:30, we get together at Antonio's Tex-Mex for Atheist Happy Hour. It's at 7:30 until about 10:30 or thereabouts. Antonio's Tex-Mex is on the southwest corner of I-35 and 183. And again, it's just like Sunday meetings, open to anyone who wants to come down, atheist-friendly people, more than welcome to come down there and throw a few back with us. All right, and I think that is it for our regular announcements. The show has such a different feel to it today. That
we're all in a fuzzy feel.
Exactly, we're all in a different realm today. But anyway, let's find out a little bit about what all of this stuff actually means. We've got the Reddit table, the wreaths, the fancy hats. So, Tim.
All right.
Tell us.
I will.
Inform us.
We have here, I started out doing some research. I had intentions of doing some really funny stuff about, you know, there was a Walmart in Colorado that actually gave the Toys for Tots and put them back on the shelves and sold them. And
wow.
Then there was, you know, some of the Christmas traditions with Santa Claus. There's a version where in the Netherlands, Santa has slaves, like African slaves, and one of them is mischievous, and he's the reason you get coal in your stockings. But
wow.
One of the things that happens whenever you're doing research is the facts sort of lead you away from your hypothesis and you find something else, and I found something I thought was more interesting. And as I was studying the St. Nicholas myth, I came across from the Trinity Lutheran Church in Massachusetts, Pastor Richard Butcher. Richard Butcher had one of the best sites with information about the St. Nicholas myth. And on this site, we learned a lot of things. First of all, St. Nicholas, the actual person, was sort of an inconsequential person. All that's really known, he says, is is scarcely any definitive historical fact known about him except that he was a bishop in Myra in Asia Minor, which is, I don't even know where that is, really. I could look it up, I'm sure, but I don't think the town really exists anymore. And there's a lot of other thousands of saints out there, but he stood out, and a lot of myths were created about him, including that he gave gifts into the windows of many of his parishioners who were poor, and he became a patron saint of many causes. Most saints don't get many causes at all. You have Dymphna, Saint Dymphna, who's the saint of sleepwalking. That's all she has. You have Saint Anthony of Padua, who's from a bigger city. Padua is the setting.
That's almost an insult.
Yeah.
We'll make it a saint of sleepwalking.
Yeah. Then you have Saint Anthony of Padua, who's the saint of lost causes. I mean, he should be more significant than,
No shortage of those, huh?
Yeah. Can think of lots of lost causes. But in spite of this, Nicholas became the patron saint of entire nations, including Greece, Russia, Sicily, Lorraine, and many cities throughout Germany. Also Austria, Switzerland, Holland, and Italy. He's also the patron saint of children, bakers, merchants, and mariners.
Sure beats the heck out of sleepwalking.
He's the ultimate superstar of the saints.
No kidding.
And in spite of nothing really being factually known about his life, Justinian built a church in his honor in Constantinople in 540 AD. And so a lot of things were created in this myth about St. Nicholas, and he's sort of the basis where Santa Claus comes from. There are some other sources for the Santa Claus myth besides St. Nicholas. He had his gift giving through the windows of the poorer parishioners, which was not relegated specifically to Christmas, but throughout the year, which I think is a good thing. But also, there's a couple other gods out there who were inspirations. There's a Teutonic god of air, Odin, who would ride around through the air on a gray horse and had a long white beard. And then furthermore, you have Thor, who was elderly, heavy, long white beard. He drew a chariot on two white goats called Cracker and Gnasher, and he also dressed in red.
Hey, what a cracker. He's a fun one.
He's a fun one. So Thor sounds a lot more like Santa Claus than anyone else, the modern day version of Santa Claus. So, and he also lived in the Northland, was the description of his house. Also Thor, he was the god of fire, so he used to come through chimneys and dispose himself into his element and come alive into the fire. So that was a interesting thing. Sounds like we should be celebrating Thor as the origin, but Saint Nicholas is the one that is referred to the most often because of his relationship to Christianity. As this Mr. Butcher goes, pastor, he goes on and he debunks a lot of things in his article that you would think he wouldn't. I mean, he's a what is he? He's a Lutheran, and he debunks the theory that Martin Luther was the first person to do a Christmas tree. He realizes that that's sort of bunk and that isn't really what happened. So he, in his study of the St. Nicholas theory, myth, he is very accurate. But the problem happens is when he gets to his conclusion. And one of the things that a lot of people creates a problem with their research, and especially a lot of theologians, is that their faith clouds their judgment when they're doing their conclusions. And some of the conclusions that he has that I particularly disagree with, are that first, he thinks that the Christian birth of Christ is not pagan, which I will get to in a second. I think the whole Christianity is very pagan, and everything is drawn out of pagan ideas. Also, he says, this is great, that St. Nicholas is not based on a historical man, rather it is based on legends attached to him. And I can think of other characters out there who are the same way.
Can you think quite nicely,
can you think of one?
But
maybe our listeners could
But at least he does realize that what we know about the historical man is nothing.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, the stories that we have are not based on him as a person, because we don't know anything about him.
Yeah, and I give him credit because he does do some really good research here. And
Yeah.
that's why I chose this website, because it had more information than anyone else about the St. Nicholas myth. And he decides that it's really a problem for Christians to celebrate the Feast of Santa Claus, which was originally on December 6th and was changed to December 25th. It became part of Christmas. And he would like for the Santa Claus feast to go back to the 6th of December so that it would be in line and separate from Christianity. But he realizes that Santa Claus is too big, and then he suggests that maybe Christ's birth should be sent to another time of year, perhaps January 6th, like the Eastern Orthodox follows in their celebration of Christmas.
So he's in favor of saying, let's move the St. Nicholas celebration away from the birth of Christ celebration.
Yeah,
and keep them separate.
Or the other way around.
Okay, but yeah, basically make them separate instead of the same thing.
But he sort of concludes, he suggests these things, but then he realizes in the end that that's not really going to happen.
Well, you know,
it's not going to go anywhere.
I think of the Santa Claus myth as just sort of training for Christianity, right? I mean, you have this guy that's checking your morality, whether you're good or bad. He's giving you gifts. If you're good, you get a lump of coal. If you're bad, and it's just like Christianity, right? If you're good in your life, you go to heaven. If you're bad, you get this torture, this cattle prod thing. So, you know, I think, you know, we could make Santa Claus more realistic by torturing the kids if they're bad. I see it as just it's all based on selfishness, right? I'm not doing this to be good. I'm not doing this to do good things. I'm doing this to get presents, or I'm doing this to go to heaven. It's all the same to me.
Yeah, be good or Santa won't come by this year. Be good or you won't go to heaven.
Yeah.
So.
But when he said that Santa Claus, you know, is sort of pagan and that the Christianity isn't pagan, I really disagree there, because Christianity has deep roots in paganism. First you have Mythraism, the god Mithra, who was born from a virgin mother, who was involved in the practice of baptism, who's celebrated on the 25th of December, identified as the hero and the savior. They have sacred sacraments with bread and wine. And Mithra existed, or didn't actually exist, but was celebrated as a god hundreds of years before Christ came around.
Right, and there's even more things. He had 12 disciples, held a Last Supper, was resurrected after 3 days in the spring equinox, and ascended to heaven.
Wow.
It's like, you know, can we swipe all this stuff? And I'm sure Christians would claim that there's no other gods except their God. So this must be a myth, right? So why is, you know, Jesus and all this copying this stuff that's definitely that everyone would agree is a myth? So I don't get it.
Yeah, it's right around rose after 3 days in the spring equinox, which is surprisingly close to Easter.
Right.
So,
That's
it's all the same thing.
Pagan fertility rituals, all that good stuff.
Yeah, pagan fertility.
Right.
Where do you think the little chicks and the rabbits come from?
Right. And you can make a stronger claim. I don't think there's anything at all about Jesus that didn't have some sort of precedence in other myths and stories that were floating around at the time. They just sort of grabbed all this stuff and pulled it in and called it, you know, one thing. And in fact, the whole Jesus, virgin child of virgin birth, all that, and Christ, the spirit being, were really sort of two separate things at the time, and they kind of got merged into the same. Paul, without Paul, there'd be no Christianity. He was quite certain that Christ was a spirit being, and this whole notion of it being anyhow associated with a birth or anything human was an anathema to him. He that, you know, humans are dirty and this whole thing would defile this whole sacred spirit of Christ. But Jesus, on the other hand, there was this completely different set of stories about Jesus being born of a virgin. Of course, there's lots of contradictions in the Bible about the lineage of Jesus, right? I mean, if Jesus is born of a virgin, then that kind of casts some serious doubt into the whole Davidic line that was supposed to have led up to him. The two different versions of it that nobody can seem to agree on. So either he had a earthly father or he didn't. And the Bible really sort of has three different versions of it, and they conflict with each other.
Yeah. One question, going back to the St. Nicholas thing, though. I was just curious. We kind of started weaving Santa Claus in there along with St. Nicholas. Do we know where Santa Claus came from? I mean, it's obviously St. Nick, but where did those words come from?
The
name?
popularity, it came from German.
Okay.
In German, you have the Germanic languages you had in the Netherlands. I'm not sure of the exact linguistics of it, but it came from those countries. Also with the pagan origins, getting into Christmas, some of these things that we're talking about, Osiris has a lot of Christmas elements in it. There's rings of bells, there's pine trees for his birthday, sprinkling of holy water, and burning of candles. So these are things we're all familiar with during this season. We can go down to Zilker Park and see a lot of this. Then what we get into, though, is that we have the solstice right now, and that's what the old pagan holiday was, the solstice. So you have started as early as the ancient Egyptians 3,500 years ago, were to celebrate basically a cosmological event of the sun not changing its position, but being relative to the earth as the earth spun on its axis to become the days become longer. So that's sort of like a rebirth of the year.
Is the reason for the season.
Yeah, the reason of the season is the
it exists. Hey,
of the earth.
Exactly.
So what happens with that is the Egyptians, as a sign of rebirth and something that's alive, they brought in leaves from the evergreens to celebrate the fact that this is a plant that stays green all year long, and we're going to celebrate this wonderful thing that the year is going to start getting longer and the days are going to get longer again, and we're going to have fun and have a party. And that was what happened. The Romans had the same feast, Saturnalia, in honor of Saturnus, the god of agriculture. So, fitting in with agriculture, you need the sun.
Yeah, the resurrection was often associated with these gods of vegetation and such. So the returning of the vegetation.
Yeah, and late in the Middle Ages, Germans and Scandinavians placed evergreens inside their homes and outside their doors to show hope for the forthcoming spring. Now, getting back to how this was brought in with Christianity. In Christianity, the birth of Christ is really not a major event. As late as 1870 in Boston, the schools stayed open for Christmas. This was not a real big event. The two big events in Christianity are Easter, the resurrection, the death and the rising again of Christ, and then also the Immaculate Conception. And audience, if you ever want to play a fun game of Stump the Christian, a good thing to do is, the Immaculate Conception is not actually the conception of Christ, which many people think it is. It's a conception of Mary, so that Christ would have two parents, God and Mary, who were both born without original sin. And basically, the Immaculate Conception is that Mary was conceived without original sin. And and ironically, that's December 8th. Now, you would think that they would just, with the solstice, just move that a couple weeks back and link these things together, but perhaps to the pagans, an Immaculate Conception was not as fun a sounding thing as a real thing.
9 months later, right? It's just all nonsense.
Yeah, it is sort of nonsense. But nonetheless, Constantine decided to address the situation of the pagan celebrations by adopting December 25th, the solstice, as the celebration of Christ's birth, and included with that many of the traditions of the pagan feast festival. Now, we get through that, and when I'm thinking about it, that in relation to what Pastor Butcher said, is that, he wants to separate the paganism from Christianity, but to me, what I'm observing is that paganism is what has worked for Christianity over the years. These fun pagan festivals, these fun things like bringing in the tree and lighting candles and having a big feast and having a Yule log, are what have
just chicks and Easter eggs and all that good stuff.
And that those pagan rituals have been the fun of the religion. I mean, other than that, you're left with a guy who's dying painfully on a cross. I mean, that's really not, that's scary.
Or a spirit being who's somehow dying painfully on a cross.
Yeah, there's confusion about that, but, you know, the paganism is what has worked for Christianity over the years and has brought in the huge membership that it has. So if Pastor Butcher wants to keep Christianity going as it is, he should encourage the paganism, encourage more of it, because that's what works.
Right.
Harry Potter, you're helping out Christianity.
Case in point, you know, All Saints Day, right? No one pays any attention to that hardly, but Halloween, the day before it, that's a fun holiday. We like that one.
But then again, more and more Christians are having issues with that nowadays, so they're having their own fits.
This year they made quite a bit of ruckus about it.
So, and then you have I mentioned the Yule log. The Druids in their feast for their pagan feast, they would have a huge log that would burn all night. So that was the Yule log. It was to mark the change of the year, and they would burn this massive log all night, just basically bonfire. Also, a fun thing was mistletoe. Mistletoe is rumored to be poisonous, and to a degree it is, but you have to have a ridiculous amount of mistletoe to actually get injured, to hurt yourself. You'd have to, you know, consume 10 pounds of it to actually really get sick from it. And the mistletoe ritual was that a young lady during the solstice would have the mistletoe above her, and young men would come up and each one would grab a berry and kiss her, and the last person to grab a berry and kiss her would then have to marry her. So
it's kind of like an auction of some sort.
Yeah, it's a sort of fun, interesting thing, and something to think about if you're not sure what the culture of the household you are in during a holiday feast.
That's right.
Do you really want the last berry?
Do you want the last berry of the
kissing under the mistletoe?
Yeah, you could have some problems with that.
And then again, you could see who's in high demand by how many berries are left.
Yes. Yes, it could get quite competitive.
No. So, in terms of Christianity, though, it's fun that, and I don't know if you're going to bring this up a little later or something, what Christianity does say, or at least the Bible says, about some of the myths or the traditions.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier today.
Yeah.
And I have this quote. It's from Jeremiah 10:3-4, and I don't have the version of the Bible. There's, you know, lots of different syntactical and contextual differences when you go from like the New International Version to the Catholic Study.
Go ahead and go.
All these things. But the one I have here says, from Jeremiah, "The customs of the people are worthless. They cut a tree out of the forest, and a craftsman shapes it with his chisel. They adorn it with silver and gold, and fasten the hammer and nails so it will not totter." So Jeremiah says that if you're putting the tree out there, you're doing a worthless custom. And you might want to reconsider that if you want to stay out of hell.
Actually, it's a little bit more than that. This is actually King James, so the translations are a little bit different. But it's Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2. "Thus saith Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of the heathen, for the heathen are dismayed at them." So basically, these are the heathens that are putting up trees and decorating them with tinsel and gold. Don't do like they do.
How many do we have? Your spot for this tradition now.
Exactly, but apparently, you know, they're saying
hang some more ornaments or something.
Yeah, Christmas. Every house has got a Christmas tree, though. Yeah. But you know, despite what this book says, which, you know, Holy Bible apparently.
That's right.
You know, don't.
But what does it say about buying stuff at Walmart?
Thus spaketh. Well, no, that's in the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not covet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Don't buy.
Don't buy. Right.
So
don't keep up with the Joneses.
Exactly. No keeping up with the Joneses. No buying a new bike for Johnny or anything like that. That's all coveting what other people have. You know, you can't watch TVs on commercial and go buy stuff.
Right.
So yes, that is an unholy ritual. So. Did you have anything else on it?
The last thing was that
Okay.
I sort of, Butcher forms the wrong conclusions, I think, because he has different goals than I do. I sort of agree with him for different reasons, in a sense. I think Christmas shouldn't really be celebrated that much, and sort of celebrating this, non-existing person, as I see it. I think that you shouldn't have an excuse one day a year to do something good for people. You should do it all year long. For instance, I'd like to pass on an anecdote of something that happened to me one Christmas. When I was in my early teens, I got very ill, and I lost about 40 pounds of weight. And you see, I'm not the biggest guy, so that's a huge difference for me. And I was misdiagnosed a few times, and then I spent Christmas in the hospital. I had a double pneumonia and a collapsed lung, and was pretty close to dying, and it sort of sucked.
Yeah.
To say the least.
And I was, Christmas Eve, I was, sitting there contemplating my own death, and the coincidence that my mother had died on the same day 5 years earlier, and feeling very angry and feeling very sorry for myself. And then something very nice happened the next day. It was Christmas, and I got a gift that was delivered to me from the nurses, and it was someone had donated a Game Boy to be given out to the kids. And a Game Boy for me at that time, I mean, that was a $99 item. That was more than I would have asked my father. I would not have even considered that being in the range of presents that I would have gotten. So that was a very nice thing that this stranger did for someone he did not know. And so it improved my mood, improved my morale. I luckily had some doctors finally that knew what they were doing, and I recovered, and things have been good since.
Praise the Lord.
What? Let's not get too carried away.
Well, they always, when the doctors clear them, they always say, "Well, it was God. God did it."
Yes, but we don't know that. We know the doctors did it.
Yes, I do. I saw what the doctors did. They stuck tubes in my chest.
But clearly, the
pumped up my
gift to it
lungs.
was a good.
It was a good thing.
That's good.
It was very good. And so, in reciprocation, for the next several years, I gave. I brought gifts into the hospitals each Christmas season. And then a few years ago, I realized, why am I only doing this at Christmas? Why am I doing this specifically at Christmas? Are there not sick kids in the hospital in March and August? Would they not like to have a gift while they're sitting there nearly dying?
Yeah.
So I mix it up now instead. And I think that, a lot of this Christmas season is a good thing, but it should be throughout the year. You should be being nice and benevolent and kind and really, spreading good cheer to people regardless of what the season is.
And actually, that's a good point too. It reminds me. I keep meaning to bring this up at the meetings, but I never get around to it. My girlfriend actually works for CASA, which is one of these child advocacy groups in town, and they collect stuff all year round for kids, basically for Christmas gifts and birthday presents, stuff like that. They get a huge flood of stuff at Christmas because all the churches are donating huge amounts of money and gifts and stuff like that to this group at Christmas time to get Christmas gifts, and then around March they run out.
Yeah. I'm not horribly surprised.
And then the income stops, and so these kids who have their birthday in July, for instance, they, hopefully we can get them a card.
Well, a lot of charities are really struggling since the economic downturn, and
that too.
There's a lot of really good charities out there that are just really scraping the bucket to get anything. And
so remember, if you can't do anything around Christmas, that's not necessarily a problem. You can, there are other times a year that you can donate, and it will be perhaps even more appreciated because, wow, what are we getting as donation in March, April,
and
July?
donating your time, doing something, there's kids out there that don't have mentors who need mentors.
Exactly.
My sister works for the Special Olympics, and they have all the power of the Kennedys behind them, and they still have problems. And one of the things they need most is volunteers to spend time with these kids at these athletic events. And that's even more valuable than just giving money or a gift, is actually spending your time working for this.
Big brothers, big sisters, that type of deal.
Yeah.
Also, so. Also, one quick thing I would like to go over here too, perhaps from the three of us, because obviously this is not the normal stuff for our show. But again, we don't believe in any gods. We don't celebrate the birth of Christ. We don't even much care that, you know, Osiris or whatever, you know, traveled up and down the Nile with, you know, leaves hanging off his boat or something. And so, I mean, all of that is kind of unimportant to us. What is the point of, again, this stuff? Having, you know, doing anything around the holidays?
Why are these crazy atheists doing this?
Exactly. Why are we doing any of this now? And I think it's important because, again, you know, people out there watching are saying, you know, we don't celebrate Christmas. Well, that's true, technically. I don't celebrate Christmas. I don't, you know, the birth of Christ means nothing to me. Whether that character actually existed and the Bible is based off perhaps a real character, I don't believe he was the Son of God, period. Even if he did exist, wasn't the son of a god. He could just be, you know, a relatively kind of decent guy who had some teachings. So, personally, why I like the holidays, again, there's several holidays around this time. We have the Thanksgiving, you have Christmas, you have New Year's, stuff like that. It's traditional that we get the time off of work, typically. So you get to visit family and friends and stuff like that. It's great.
I only have 2 paid holidays a year, and
this is one of them.
and Christmas is one of them. Thanksgiving and Christmas. So only 2 days I'm guaranteed to have off.
Exactly.
The rest of it is, you know, probably working. So I'm excited about that. Those 2 days. That's a big deal.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I say, I mean, the days have been getting shorter and shorter and shorter. You're getting longer and longer nights. A lot of people get, you know, kind of down in the dumps around Christmas. It's nice to have some kind of celebration there.
Yeah.
And so the solstice, you know, if nothing else,
well,
just,
a lot of the traditions are a lot of fun.
Party.
You know, the lights are fun. The tree and the odor that it emits is really wonderful. And
exactly.
Sense of giving and such is they're all wonderful things, and we can embrace them.
Yeah. So the fact that the Christians have, you know, hijacked it and said this is the birth of our Savior, when actuality it all kind of started out with, you know, being solstice type, you know, new year, new regrowth and that kind of stuff. Just because they've hijacked it doesn't mean that we can't still have a little fun during it.
Absolutely.
And like I say, it's traditionally, you typically go visit, you know, family and friends, you see, you know, stuff like that. You get a little time off of work, give a little thanks to, say, you know, to family and friends again. It's great fun. So just because I don't believe that, you know, the savior of the human race, who is a god in human form or something like that, was born this time 2,000 years ago, doesn't mean anything to me.
You can still have a good time.
Exactly, exactly. It's still a good reason for a party. And like I say, if you actually look at astronomy and know what the solstice actually is and does, it's kind of nifty.
You know, it's an amazing thing. I mean, you know, if the days are getting shorter and shorter, I'm sure it was very frightening to early humans. You know, it's like everything's dying. You know, what's going to happen? You know, it must be a very sort of grim time. And knowing that the days start getting longer it must have had a very profound impact on the people. Yeah.
And so to have some kind of celebration. I
certainly understand why it's an important holiday to people.
Yeah.
For that reason.
Yeah, the days start getting longer.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's put up the phone number and maybe chat about a couple other things while we're getting some calls.
Yes. Phone number will be on your screen shortly. Again, this is a live call-in show. If you have any comments or questions or concerns or anything like that, please go ahead and give us a call, and we'll get you on the air. Again, this is our last show before the new year, I believe.
Last live show.
Live show.
We'll run a tape next week.
Okay, yeah, next week, day after Christmas.
26th, yeah.
We're all going to be away visiting other people or doing something like that. So we won't be live next week. We'll be running tape. And the week after that is the new year, isn't it?
That's right, but I think we are doing a show then. So that's right.
Yeah, we will be live.
The second.
So this is the last show of 2004.
The last live
show of 2004. It's been fun, people.
Yeah. It has. Ho ho ho.
Exactly. So like I say, next week we're running tape. Phone number is on your screen. Any questions or comments, please give us a call. Did you have anything to add to this discussion?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, we have this abstinence-based, abstinence-only stuff in the news, and
yeah, like that works so well.
Yeah, we got
6 billion people.
Thankfully, Representative Henry Waxman from California has taken this on as a cause to poke at some of the lies that are being promulgated under this abstinence-only thing, and I hate to say this, but whenever there's Christians behind it, there's always some deception, it seems. So we have things being taught in schools with our taxpayer money about that touching a person's genitals can result in pregnancy.
I heard one where they said holding hands.
Holding hands. Oh boy,
Ooh.
that's a good one.
It can lead to
Exactly. I'm assuming what they're thinking with something like that is, you're holding hands, you're getting, more and more intimate. It could lead to this.
Yeah.
But of course
there's a whole bunch of things in that category. Like our textbooks now in Texas are going to have things like make sure you get plenty of rest.
Yeah, I know.
And
you don't want to get pregnant, get
make
rest.
sure when you go out, you're going out with groups of people.
Yeah.
And and this whole idea of having sex will ruin your life, and I can't help but contrast that with this Mary character, and what if she took this abstinence only message to heart, and didn't mess around, and she I guess did it somehow with this alien species. So it reminds me of one of these old science fiction movies where the aliens come down and the love child, the peacenik from the 60s, the woman comes up, this new agey woman comes up and says, let me have your child. I want to bury your child. It's that kind of meeting that strikes me. Virgins or women in particular in the biblical times were property, right? And the fact that they're virgins makes them much more valuable. So we have Mary making decisions about her womb, and that's somebody else's property. So Mary's father, presumably, because she hadn't yet married Joseph, right? So makes me wonder who was her daddy and where was he during all this? And he is the one who should be making those decisions since she's property. And so we have this Mary doing very modern things of making decisions for her own and doing very controversial things with her body that today would be taught against in school. So I just wanted to point out the irony of these two approaches. We have Christians getting the state saying, oh, abstinence only, abstinence only, abstinence only, and all these lies according to that, and then we have the church promoting how wonderful Mary is and how virtuous and all this, and this two are very much at odds with each other. So I just wanted to point that out as kind of a humorous little thing.
Well, religion is nothing if not a boiling pot of contradictions and
irony, huh?
Irony, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. Anyway, we've got some calls lined up. Let's go ahead and jump to them. Let's start off with Paul. You there?
Yes, I am. How are you doing?
Quite well. What you got for us?
I've never turned your show on before, and I'm an atheist, and
welcome.
It was quite encouraging to see got some rational thought in this far into the Bible Belt.
Three wise men. What do you know?
I used to be a Christian and lived up in the Pacific Northwest, and it rains a lot there, so there's a lot of bookstores, and so you go inside and read a lot, read the Bible a few times, and the more you read the Bible, the more you evolve to atheist.
Yeah. Actually,
I had the same experience.
A couple years back, it used to be a guy called David. David was the co-host on the show at the time, and he actually went to a Bible college for several years. He was actually studying in the seminary to be a priest. And it's basically that, having to read the Bible and actually look deeply at these things, that he went on to become an atheist and then co-hosted the Atheist Experience. So yeah, you want to become an atheist, read the Bible. So.
Exactly. Yeah, you have 100 and some cults and sects and denominations, and basically their major disagreement is how to interpret or apologize for all the flaws in the Bible.
Yeah. The show's a lot of fun. Like I say, having to discuss all this and debate it and look at what we actually know and don't know and such.
Yeah.
About
you're
all
more
this.
than welcome to come join our group if you'd like.
Super. I see you're super on the screen there. And
exactly.
Okay.
Details down here.
Right. So basically, atheists are majority I've met are Bible experts. And,
yeah.
And if they were atheists in some Muslim country, they'd be experts in the Quran. It's just you
Probably.
Well, we all also have to learn a lot about physics and evolution and the Supreme Court law and all
Exactly.
sorts of arcane topics that nobody
We're
else
kept on our
normally care
toes
about.
on this show.
Yeah,
Atheism is
Active
almost
fun
a
people.
consequence of being an intellectual.
I think so.
yeah. There's
I think we
fundamental-
realize our lives are short and valuable, and we try to live them to the fullest.
So why waste them hanging out with Christians?
Exactly. Exactly.
I'll let you take out a call. It's nice seeing your show.
Okay, thanks a lot for watching.
Happy trail.
Come join us. So yeah, tell them about
Yeah.
Right.
Again, like I say, any atheist-friendly people, we are meeting after the show. Chili's on the southeast corner of I-35 and 183. We'll be there around 6:45. The show goes off at 6. And like I say, if you want to come down and meet cast, crew, and a couple others, you're more than welcome to do so. Okay, on to yet more callers. We have got John. You there?
Hey guys,
Hey.
let's see, God, okay, on the physics side of it, it would be individual, it would be a synergistic symbiosis, a manifestation of synergistic
Are you
symbiosis.
defining God? We're kind of lost it here.
Yeah.
Where you're going with this?
Symbiosis,
Is that the definition of God, or?
yeah.
Okay.
So symbiosis is where two parts, kind of like work together in order
Yeah.
to make, okay. Synergism is almost the same thing.
Okay.
So that if I were to believe in such, and it were to work for me, then that would be the definition of God.
Okay.
That would be, that would be,
God is what you want him to be.
there
But-
you go.
but that
would be-
doesn't-
that would be the manifestation of God.
Okay, but that doesn't actually prove he exists, though.
But in the synergism or the symbiosis part, that is proof that the God, as one believes, is real.
Well, no, it doesn't. It proves it can
So if I
potentially
believe
prove.
in the lottery, do I become a millionaire?
Yeah, I mean.
No, but if you win the lottery, no, if you win,
Yeah, but that doesn't
no,
prove anything.
Would that mean
you're
each
saying
person
belief
has
is
created their
reality.
own God?
And
No,
I
I'm
don't think
saying
I believe that.
Let's just say psychosomatic cures and psychosomatic illnesses.
Okay.
Psychosomatic illnesses are brought about, however, psychosomatic cures are brought, however. If I were to believe that I'm going to get well, and for some reason or another, you've heard of just miraculous.
Your attitude affects your health, absolutely.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
But that doesn't make God exist if you wish him to exist.
But if I individually believe that there is a God, doesn't that make that belief system, doesn't that create that which people call God?
No.
No.
No, what people call God.
If God is a concept only, then
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
We agree.
Okay, how
People,
about that?
people typically think of God as being some external being or force outside of themselves. Now, I can agree with you that beliefs, that type of thing, can affect your mood and your health and your well-being and stuff like that.
Yes.
If you believe
Yes.
that there is a God and He's watching out for you, you may be, a happier person in general.
Synergism.
Absolutely.
Right.
That doesn't prove that He actually exists, though.
Well,
I mean-
it proves that there's a manifestation of a symbiotic.
No, it proves that your mind can alter your state of being.
Right.
How you feel.
Right.
Because it's very easy to disprove that. You just have to choose something, ask the God to do something that, and it not happen the first time that happens, that God no longer exists for you.
We have a saying,
Right, and
nothing
that's-
feels like prayer.
If you pray to go down Mopac and not have
Right.
any traffic at 4 o'clock, it's not going to happen, and your God will no longer exist for you.
I agree, and that is a problem where people go, I don't believe in God because this didn't work for me, and that's. But I was thinking, as far as just the belief system alone, in that makes it created, and in that creation of my own mind, it is.
Okay. But again, that's a very personal thing. To
yes.
you,
Yes.
the effects of belief are real.
Yes, and then multiply that by 100 million.
Okay, but then you've got 100 million
Yeah.
personal ideas that, God has helped me.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that there's an actual external being or force out there who's, throwing good juju my way.
Right. Okay. Now let's go.
Yeah, but if
100
someone's having a
million people-
solipsist view of the world, it doesn't interact with anyone else's.
Okay, let's go 100 million people believing in God, and we all want to believe that the world needs to get better. Okay, I mean,
Okay.
as far as higher consciousness goes.
Okay.
So that if 100 million people start thinking that way, in that belief system of a God, which is an individual belief system, then
well, if that belief affects their actions, then yeah.
Yeah.
Then that is, and then let's go to that word, let's go to Jesus, okay? Back then, 2,000 years ago, there was a lot of religious oppression going on. There was the oppression, there was the Sadducees and the Pharisees taking the firstborn child, and you had to buy it back from them. There was buying the dove and buying the goat, buying whatever.
But
and go ahead.
Going back to what you were saying, though,
Sure.
Assuming that, you know, everyone or a large portion of the world believed in God and believed, you know, in trying to make the world a better place through religion, for instance, would that make the world a better place? Now, if, as Don said, beliefs translated into actions and these people did good acts,
Right.
you know, good, I'll put that in quotes for the moment, then yes, that would make the world a better place.
Yes.
Now, the problem I see with that is, again, one, it doesn't prove that anything's real. It shows that religion can be a good motivating force, which I agree with. Religion makes a lot of people do, you know, good things or, you know, act on behalf of it. You know, they'll donate money at Christmas to the orphanage and stuff like that. Yes, people do good things.
And that's a commandment.
Based on religion, and that's fine.
Right.
The only problem is that the basis for all these good acts is not real. The reason that you're doing them is
To curry favor with an infinitely
exactly.
powerful God.
You're trying to curry favor so that you can, you know, earn the reward. If I do this, then I get to go to heaven.
Right, it's not altruism.
That's kind of
really.
cool.
Well,
Exactly.
I think
There are better reasons
Right.
to be good and do good things. And if you look at the world rationally and say, okay, you know, not stealing is a good thing, giving money to an orphanage is a good thing, you can look at rational reasons why those are good things to do. And basically the world, again, assuming you act on them, will be a better place. Religion told lots of people to do bad things. Look at all, you know, some of the religious wars that we've had. Look at things like the Inquisition. Look at things like mothers who have killed their kids based, you know, because God said that, you know, you should kill your kids or they'll go to hell. That type of thing. You know, if your basis is a belief, then you can believe anything. And that can lead to bad things. And it's scary.
I think it goes along with Zoroastrianism and the dualism of nature, which Buddha and Ashoka and others dealt with. As far as I dropped the good and the bad. There's constructive and less constructive, and there's actually constructive and destructive forces within us. So, in order to harness the better forces, there was kind of like the laws of Moses were a little bit kinder and gentler than the laws of Hammurabi. The laws of Moses, the laws of Buddha, 600 BC, was a little kinder and gentler than the laws of Moses, who had turned the other cheek, and Buddha said, you know, thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
And then you get into the laws of Ashoka, 325 BC, and he brought the Ten Commandments, wrote them on small, medium, and large stones across the Silk Route, which was trying, and he and his grandfather were saying, if we can raise the consciousness of the world, it'll be a better place.
Yeah.
But at that time, with the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, they all believed in blood sacrifice and slavery. But those people from over in Buddha land didn't believe in that. So then when it carried over to the Middle East and the Christians, then that's what I think Jesus, or whoever that person was. And so that when this person, whoever it was, said, I am the Lamb, let me be the last sacrifice, it was kind of like saying it was a tax evasion move. It was kind of like dismantling. Oh, it's true. He was dismantling slavery and blood sacrifice, saying, believe in me, and you know, you guys don't have to worry about buying the dove and the lamb and everything else.
Exactly.
And then when that came about, they were so poor, the drought of 38 to the drought of 71, all the poor people were going, I'm with him.
Yeah.
You know, he's my sacrifice, and I don't have to sacrifice to you.
Yeah, I have heard that a couple times. Yeah,
Right.
he is the new sacrament. You don't have to, you know, sacrifice a bull anymore. Jesus did it for me, essentially.
And so as far as not being applicable to us, this is true. Profit is killing a lot of people right now. But it's true, it was true back then, very much so, because that started the Christian movement, and that's why they had to go underground for 300 years.
Yeah.
And that's why Sasanianism took over, where that they were completely expelled back to India, and the blood sacrifice trade, the religious oppression, and the slavery took over after that.
Okay.
So I'm just of the belief that if I believe It is. And if I believe there's a God and 100 million people believe there is a God, then there can be the manifestation of that which we believe.
Again, that maybe you're couching your words carefully.
Right.
Again, there can be a manifestation, you know, the benefits of belief can turn into actual benefits.
Yes.
But again, there's a lot of people who believe that the world was flat. That didn't make it so.
Right.
Just because you believe that there's an external force out there doesn't mean there actually is.
A lot of people
now, you can still
no longer believing in hell. I mean, that whole thing
hell is on earth,
disappearing from people's belief. Does that mean it doesn't exist anymore?
Hell is from Catholicism.
Hell is on earth, I believe, in our own. We make our own hell. But one more thing is when you talk about Christianity.
Well, if this is hell, man, that's pretty awesome.
Well, no.
I'm digging it. Send me back.
No, I'm
Get in
talking
again.
about down moments. I'm not talking about heaven, you know, happiness. But there's one more point, and then I'll hang up, is that there's a difference between the Western Church and the Eastern Church when Irenaeus, Constantine started mixing it up because everybody was going out helping other people, and Irenaeus and Constantine and Leo said, come back to me, and he said the bigger the lie, the better the following. So you have to be careful about when you talk about the Christians and the Christian Church, whether you're talking about the West or the East, because one believes that Irenaeus and those guys said Jesus was and the other one said that Jesus was a human being who found the higher consciousness and the way of the higher consciousness, and that's why he was called the way and also the last sacrifice. Whether his name was Jesus or not, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, thanks for calling.
Perfect.
Bye.
I have some comments on that.
Yeah, I have one too, actually, too.
Okay. Well, you know, if you're talking about, you know, this group is lying versus that group is lying, you know, we have Paul in Romans saying, "For if the truth of God had more abounded through my lie unto his glory, then why am I also judged as a sinner?" So Paul said, "Go tell a big lie as long as it aggrandizes God." And then Martin Luther, founder of Protestantism, "What harm would it do if a man told a good strong lie for the sake of the good and the Christian church, a lie out of necessity, a useful lie, a helpful lie? Such lies would not be against God, he would accept them."
Yeah.
So, you know, this is what I see as this, you know, sort of foundational creed of Christianity. We got, and we see this, you know, the Catholic Church too. I mean, they're big myth makers.
I don't know if I'd go as far as calling it a basis of it.
I do.
But I mean, it's
think
certainly in some of the writings and such that.
Well, this
that
whole,
if it brings you
conservative
close,
talk radio.
Maybe so. Well, this
ultimately the means justify the ends. If it brings you closer to God, then it's a good thing. Even if it is a complete fabrication and a lie, if it brings you closer to God, then it's a good thing.
that was the mindset of the early Christians. Is like, let's pull in all these stories because people believe them and because it'll get us more followers. To hell with the truth.
Yeah. And actually, my point, he was talking about, be careful, you know, East versus Western Christians, that type of thing, the Orthodox versus non-Orthodox.
There's only 100 million deviations, right?
I mean, I can understand that if you're starting to get down to the nitty-gritty details of it, but when you're looking at the basis of there was a God who condemned all of humankind to original sin,
right.
You know, for
you
putting
deserve
something
to be
there.
tortured.
You know, it's all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving God condemned all of mankind for something that most of them had done nothing about.
Right.
You know, I have not done anything.
Hell with personal responsibility.
Exactly. I have not done anything so bad that deserves eternal torment. And then saying, okay, here is a Savior who I am going to kill so that you can be saved.
It's manipulation is all it is.
That makes no sense. And so Eastern, Western, it's still just nonsense. So this is fun. All right, let's go on to, let me see, I think we've got...
Number one, yeah.
Yeah. So. Steve, you there?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm
Hi.
an atheist, and I had heard about Mythraism before. I was just wondering if you could explain a little bit more about that, specifically when did Mythraism exist, and how do we know that it existed at that time, and how do we know that it's not a myth?
Well, it was a myth.
Yeah, we know that it's a myth.
Not too many people believe it anymore, and we don't assume
that Mythraism is a fabrication.
Yeah, like maybe somebody made it up.
No, there are dialogues back and forth between the two sects. How one, oh well, my God is better than your God, sort of thing, I think with Mythraism there was a recorded dialogue about that, and Mythraism existed more or less at the same time as the Jesus myths, but started earlier. So
in Persia.
So that's why we believe that some of the stories and such got transferred from Mythraism into Christianity.
And where was that first documented?
I don't have that in front of me.
Yeah.
If you write to the TV show, I'd be glad to look that up and send it to you.
Yeah, because it's kind of interesting, because if what you're saying is true about Mythraism, that it's almost exactly like the
well, it's not just that one. There's dozens of them that
Yeah.
have elements of this, right?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the book, but there's something like there's a book out there that documents, I think, 16 different gods or religions of some kind.
There's a big fad.
Yeah.
Apparently, different gods and religions that kind of mimic Christianity. A lot of them were earlier on.
Presage it, right?
And predate them in some way, in the form that it was a god, it was born of a virgin, it was born at such and such time of year. You know, all the kind of elements
the
line up.
stars and all that.
The names have been changed, but that's about it. I can't remember the actual book name offhand, but yeah, I think there are about 16 or so that are very closely tied.
Right. So when you're arguing with Christians, you could just say, well, look at this. We have all this evidence that points to the fact that maybe Christianity itself was made up.
You'd think that.
You know.
You'd think that
They're always so easy.
You'd present this stuff and they'd say, "Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense," but we don't get that very often.
Oh, and one other thing, could you explain, some of the similarities between Mithraism again and Christianity? Just go down the list. I think you had a list.
Yeah, I had.
I had
Go ahead if you got it handy. I've got mine handy.
birthday was celebrated on the 25th. Was born of a virgin. Was died and then rose out from his ashes. Practice of baptism. There was a sacrament with bread and wine. Was identified as a hero savior for all of mankind, and was slain, and the blood of his slaying was to wash away the sins of others.
Yeah, and I have additional things. He had 12 disciples, held a Last Supper, was resurrected after 3 days on the spring equinox, and ascended to heaven. So,
Just amazing. How similar that is.
Yeah.
I think it's very compelling that it's like,
Uncanny.
you know, especially if you're gonna claim that this is a mythical religion. It's like, well, is God imitating myth? Is that what his aspiration?
Well, you see,
is?
what the Christians will do with something like this, assuming that it's well documented and it's to the point where they can't refute it, they'll say, "Look, Mithra was the trailer. Jesus is the movie."
Yeah. In fact, there is a quote about this sort of thing, and they sort of say, "Well, Satan outdid himself in reverse time."
Yeah.
That's the gist of how they explain
The
it.
Superman thing or something? Or?
Yeah, they will go through untold mental gymnastics to try and get around these problems that religion presents to them.
They'll believe in a God. They'll repeat anything to make it
Exactly.
work for them.
Yeah.
So it's funny watching them fold themselves into a pretzel sometimes. So
All right, well, thanks a lot, guys.
okay, thanks for
All right,
calling.
take care.
So and maybe a little plug for a little article I read that I thought was really great. Gave me a very good perspective on all this. There's an article called "Did Jesus Christ Really Live?" It's on the Internet Infidels website, and it's written by Marshall Gauvin, Gauvin. Anyway, I thought this was like one of the better pieces on all the myths associated with Jesus Christ.
Okay. What was the end result of the article? They would vouch that he did or he didn't. Obviously, he's not the son of a god, but was Jesus?
The evidence that Jesus actually existed is very, very flimsy.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's usually what I've heard, but I've heard it both
Yeah.
ways, and it's
Yeah.
not.
You have to be
into
pretty
all that
generous to sort of say that he existed.
Okay, I haven't looked into it all that much because even if there was somebody who was running around at that time and was doing these teachings and the whole Bible is based on that one person,
Right.
It still doesn't
If
prove
you take all the
that.
myths out of the thing, or all the miracles and all the
Exactly.
stuff that appeared in other religions, you don't have much left.
Exactly. It doesn't prove the water to wine. It doesn't prove raising from the dead. It doesn't prove that
Right.
his daddy created the entire universe in 6 days.
There's nothing outside of the Bible. There's
Exactly.
And nothing gets around
Exactly.
this missing 30-year problem.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, even if Jesus did exist, it's
The
still
most important
a lot
person
of
in the
bunk.
universe, and gosh, he just
Can
disappeared
it
for
count
30
from
years.
age 13 to
Yeah.
33?
All right. Anyway, we'll put the phone number up. Again, a reminder to any atheist-friendly people, we're going to be going out after the show. We'll be meeting at around 6:45 at Chili's on the southeast corner of I-35 and 183 for dinner. If you want to come down and join us, please do. Anyway, let's go on to yet more callers. We have got Dave. You there?
Yeah, man, I'm here. What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, not too bad. Hey, I was just curious. I was just flipping through the channels and I was watching your show. I was just curious to know, what is your idea of God? I mean, I've been listening to you, and it seems like that you're talking about a lot of religions that speak of God as being a man up in the sky. Is that correct? Am I getting that just right?
We're not in the business of defining that. We actually feel that there are lots of different definitions out there, and you actually have to define what you mean by God before you can even say anything intelligible.
Yeah.
But as a default, I think we generally talk about the Christian God on this show. That's the one that most people believe in the United States, and
typically we kind of fall back on the position
What about
of
the Catholic God?
there is some omnipotent being out there,
There is.
all loving, all knowing,
Not
all
in the
powerful.
same context as everybody believes it to be, though.
Okay, so
You have to understand.
in the general consensus,
Well,
what do you say?
Let me
is wrong?
reiterate here.
Okay.
All these religions, if you look at them, they're all pointing in the same direction.
Okay.
Okay? They're all pointing to the sky.
Okay.
Even the Bible speaks of it.
Buddhism doesn't point to the sky. I
when the rapture
disagree.
comes, we'll all be
Taoism?
looking up at the stars in the sky.
Okay.
In reality, what
Sorry.
we need to do is start looking more at each other, because God is within us all.
Okay. But again, are you saying, just to be clear here, there are certain things in the world that are real and physical. Books, tables, plants, trees, stars.
Yeah.
Those are physical things in the world. Pen. And then there are other things which are demonstrable, but you can't exactly put them in a jar. Feelings and emotions, behavior, that type of thing. Are you saying that God is some kind of external element that can affect us, or is it just a feeling?
God is everything. All-knowing, all-powerful, everything.
Okay, but that doesn't mean... Are you saying it's a conscious force?
Are you familiar with Albert Einstein's theory of relativity? Excuse me.
Of course. More or less.
Okay. Einstein has proven that if you invert the atoms of an object, it would fill the whole expanse of the universe. Thus, time and light, filling all space. Okay, he even proved that the fourth dimension, which we live in the third dimension, that the fourth dimension is a instantaneous flash of time and light.
Okay.
Which everything happens simultaneously.
You've bastardized this stuff pretty good. Keep going.
I haven't heard about that. Okay.
Keep going.
I'm trying not to lose my train of thought here.
Yeah.
But my question is, do you feel that you have a soul?
Not in the general. Most people kind of think that you have one flesh body, and there's kind of like this soul that inhabits it, and when you die, your soul can leave, and reincarnation, go to heaven, whatever happens at that point. I don't think there is anything outside of the physical, flesh biochemical reactions that are going on, sitting in this chair. I don't think there's anything outside of that. It's all brain chemistry.
Yeah, but do you believe that we are all one entity?
No. No.
I believe...
Again, he's different than me, he's different than me.
No, actually, we're all very much one and the same.
Yeah, we are very similar. We are very
came out with
similar.
an article back in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. I don't remember exactly what issue it was, but I remember reading that article that when they broke the DNA code, and what they did was they tried to find out who the oldest tribe on the face of the planet is. Well, they dated it back as from the genetic code as far back as Aboriginal people.
Okay.
That we all of mankind on this planet, branch off that one tribe on the face of this earth.
Evolution.
Thus, you are as much black as they are.
I've heard of that.
We are very much all
based on the
one
Aboriginal
being one entity.
Okay, but again, define one entity. I am a very separate person
we buy into evolution,
from my guest and my
big deal.
co-host. Just because we're genetically related in the same species,
that doesn't mean
what meaning does that have to say that we are all one entity?
There that connects us.
Yeah,
There's
but
energy that makes us.
Don can't think the dirty thoughts I have in my head right now. It just doesn't
God
work that
didn't
way.
create just the heavens and the earth. Remember back in Genesis that everything was void.
Okay. So again, you're going back to
created
say
the universe, not the solar system, not the galaxy, but the universe.
I thought you said God was the universe.
Yeah, I thought you were saying that God is everything in us, and so therefore, when we weren't here, God was still there. Therefore, you're saying God is some kind of external force.
Or when we weren't there, God wasn't there either.
No, I don't believe God is external at all. I believe He's in me, and I believe He's in everything around me.
Okay, but again, He was there before you were. So therefore, He's outside of you in a sense.
No, I was already part of Him.
Before you existed?
Well, in the book of Matthew, Jesus tries to his disciples are really confused. I'm sure you read the Bible and you understand it. To a lot of people, I mean, what made Jesus so special was that He flabbergasted the people because nobody has ever spoken as He did. Okay?
Not entirely true.
His family thought he was nuts, according to the Bible. So
I mean, there's a lot of things. People.
Everybody did.
People often say that they've never heard these kind of things.
You don't understand. You're gonna scratch.
Well,
your head
if I were his mother and I had this child out of a coupling with God, I'd probably be inclined to cut him a little slack.
That's all mythology. The story about the Virgin Mary and everything. That's all symbolism and that's all mythology, okay? Because there's been medical evidence that has proven that virgin girls that go swimming in a swimming pool have gotten pregnant, from sperm floating around in a swimming pool. Okay, I don't know.
I read one story. It was a Roman soldier. It was his father.
It was a divine birth or whatnot, but back then they probably used that symbolism in order to convince the people into following their religion. I don't support all religions. I don't go to church every Sunday.
One of the point I want to make here is why put all this garbage and this why put all this dressing on it if it's so wonderful? Why doesn't it stand alone? Why do you have to embellish it so much?
Well, I'm sorry. Would you?
Why do you have to have all these lies and magic and all this foo-foo stuff if it's so darn wonderful it's going to stand on its own? Why do you have to prop it up with all this nonsense? I don't mean you personally. I mean, why does Christianity do that?
Because people need to be controlled. Ask any government.
But if God is in all,
I might actually agree with you on that.
Religion is nothing but a form of government that trains people to believe in a certain way instead of learning how to believe in themselves. That's why we have kids going to school with guns and shooting people.
But if God is in all of us, how come He can't communicate that to all of us?
I don't believe separating church and state is the complete answer. I believe teaching people on how to live better lives and treat each other more like brothers and sisters.
So given all this bad stuff that's happening in the world, if God is inside everybody, why isn't He kind of putting the brakes on and saying, okay, this behavior good, this behavior bad? Why do we have,
the difference
as you say,
between right and wrong when you're born?
What is that?
You know the difference between right and wrong when you're born.
Really? Have you ever been to a school?
Look, when
you're smacking each other all the time, stealing toys and all sorts of stuff.
Young kids do not know the difference between right and wrong. When they're young, that's when they're learning it.
Oh, yes, they do.
They start.
When
they
you're
start.
A kid, when you're 3 years old and you're in the kitchen and you reach up and you touch a hot pot, there's a difference between hot and cold, right?
Yeah, a hot pot is very different from, my friends don't want to play with me.
the difference between what tastes good and what tastes bad.
Yeah, that is not right and wrong, though. Okay, right and wrong, I took it to mean moral behavior.
Right, children are very selfish.
Yeah, children are extremely selfish. I want that now. And that's all there is to it. If somebody else is holding it, to hell with them.
That's an animal instinct.
Yeah, exactly.
We're animals.
That's
the difference
so
between
kids
You just
don't.
contradicted yourself.
So then, do kids know right and wrong, or are they running on animal
They
instinct?
know the difference between right and wrong.
What is that?
They know the difference between right and wrong.
And animal instincts then are right and wrong. So whatever your animal instincts say is right.
They know what feels good and what feels bad, just as you do.
Okay, so again, I want that toy now. I can take it, and I don't really care if you hurt yourself when I knock you over.
That's
Is
more
that
of
good?
an animal instinct.
Okay, but is that
When
good?
somebody, when you want, back and
So is that good?
is that good?
Yes.
It's not moral.
Okay, so that is bad.
It's not. It's not. I wouldn't say it would be bad to the point of view of our society, but as an animal instinct, in that eye, I guess in those eyes, it would probably be correct to satisfy one's need.
Okay.
Okay.
So kids know right and wrong, but they choose not to listen, maybe?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So kids know right and wrong, they just choose not to listen, maybe? They have
choose to
animal
satisfy
instincts.
their own animalistic needs.
So they have right and wrong, which they know, and they have animal instincts.
Yeah, I can't make sense of these two statements you
They
made.
have they're misguided because I read this one story. I won't take up too much more of your time, but about, I believe it was a story about this college student who was debating atheism with his college professor, and the college professor asked the student, certain questions. I'd like to email this to you and let you look at it. But
before you do that, there's a website out there, Snopes.com, and look it up on there. I've seen a lot of these different stories that kind of deliver a point, but they're complete fabrications.
Yeah.
You might want to check on it. You can still make a point, but
I believe that if what makes men evil and do bad things is not having the goodwill to mankind in your heart. If you go to one of these kids go to school and bullies a kid and takes his lunch money, or even worse, busts out his gat and busts a cap in him, he doesn't have love in his heart. In other words, he wasn't given love by his parents or any of his,
I
his
pretty much
friends
agree
or
with
his peers
that.
around
I
him.
think that's,
I would kind of agree with you, but again, going back to the point you said earlier, he should know right and wrong.
Yeah, God's inside of him.
Yeah, God's
according to
inside of him. God
definition.
should be there like a guiding light to say,
Yeah.
go this way, do the good thing.
He knows what he's
powerful,
doing.
should be clear.
Inside, he knows what he's doing is wrong, but he's going to fulfill that need any way he knows how to. And if that's what he has to resort to, like right now, I'm
Sounds
sure
like a
you
flawed
got
creation.
credit cards, you got car payments, you got a nice house. Okay, but if you were thrown in the jungles of Brazil, brother, let me tell you what, you kill the first piece of meat that comes along if you have to survive.
Maybe.
Okay, welcome to the jungle, man.
Okay.
That's what it's like out there.
Okay. We're going to let you go. We got to get a couple more callers to get to.
It was good talking to you guys, man.
Okay.
Very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks for
I'm
calling.
going to check out your website, man.
Please do.
I want to email you
Excellent.
some stuff.
Okay. Thanks for
later.
calling. Bye.
Speaking of meat and going to the jungle, instead of going to the jungle and killing a piece of meat, we're going to go to Chili's tonight.
There you go.
And
You can buy it pre-prepared.
That's right. We'll get some fajitas instead of, killing an animal or something.
they actually serve it to you. You can sit there and have nachos and relax and talk with some fun atheists
Exactly.
and have a good time.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to come down
good one,
and meet
Tim.
us, again, atheist friendly people, info at the bottom of your screen. Okay, we got about 15 minutes left. Go ahead and take a couple more calls. It seems like I had something to say to him, but I forgot what it was now. So anyway, I guess it'll either not that important to come up again.
Well, we have, yet another, from the last caller, yet another abstinence-only thing, stay out of swimming pools if you're, you don't want to get pregnant.
Yeah. Okay,
Boy, there's a
whatever.
lot of traps out there for
Don't
young
hold
women.
hands. Don't go to swimming pools.
Stay well rested.
So, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go on and get more callers. We have got Mark. You there?
Yes.
Okay. What you got for us?
What is atheism exactly?
Atheism.
By y'all's definition and opinions.
Okay. The origin of the word a meaning not or without, and theism, the belief in God. So basically, we don't believe in any gods as they're typically defined.
Why?
We don't see any kind of evidence out there. People have come forward and said, okay, I think there's this all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving force that created the universe, and you know does things here and there and really cares about your sex life. I haven't seen any kind of evidence of this being out there.
Yeah, we're
so
real big on evidence and reason.
Yeah.
Scientific method should be in every
We're
classroom.
skeptical as a you know a mindset.
Okay.
Is everything an accident?
I wouldn't call it an accident. I mean,
There's causes and effects.
yeah,
right?
I mean,
Absolutely.
chemistry and
Well,
physics.
what's the cause of it?
Well,
What's the cause of what?
Yeah,
The cause of existence?
it
Well,
just kind of happened.
Happened.
I
We're trying to
mean,
find out.
Yeah, I mean, there's chemistry and there's physics and there's cosmology.
Well-
These are science that determine how things happen. So no, I mean, things
Yeah,
just
yeah.
didn't poof into existence. All of a sudden, you got a person crawling around.
Right.
There are processes that lead to that.
Okay. Also, okay, you don't know something's there because you don't see it.
Okay.
Okay. Say there's a really hot girl next door,
Okay.
but you don't know that she's there because you never seen her walk outside.
Okay.
But you go knock on the door and then you find out she's really hot.
Okay.
So
So you're saying
I'm saying exactly right. It's just because you don't know it's there or see it consciously, then it doesn't mean it's not there.
okay, but there are things that can be detected. I can go next door, knock on the door, and ooh, there she is. Wow.
Or check out her webcam.
Exactly. Shut up, Tim.
There's high-tech surveillance.
There are ways that you can detect things like that. This God has never been detected in any way, shape, or form.
What
by anyone.
about life?
What about
Life
it?
is proof of life.
Yeah, life happened. What about it?
It's God.
How so?
Okay, I prefer to call it life. I mean, we've got a word for that already, and it works relatively well.
Well, that's a
You're
good.
talking about creationism,
I mean, can I call
create the
coffee
world in
cups
6
God?
days sort of thing.
Can you call coffee what?
Can I call a coffee cup God? I mean, if you're just going to redefine terms, it doesn't mean anything.
I don't know if he's trying to do that. I think he's trying to
So-
say that life, because it's so interesting and wonderful, it must have had a creator. Is that
Yeah,
more or less?
Ebola is pretty interesting
Yeah.
and wonderful.
I think if you look up at the stars and the planets or whatever.
Yeah, I do
we
actually.
have a strong
try to-
sense of awe and wonder.
Yeah, I
we
mean-
think the universe is a pretty amazing place too.
One, there is some awe and wonder there. Yeah, it is pretty neat. But then again, once you start thinking about it, there are a lot of planets out there that are just flaming,
Fire.
pockets of rock.
I think the laws of physics are pretty wonderful too.
There's stars which are just basically burning balls of gas and stuff like that. Black holes that suck things into them. If I look at the fact that this is God created the universe, the one thing that comes to mind is he's really inefficient with his use of space.
Not an interior designer.
Why do you say that?
The space is
lots of void out
absolutely
there.
freaking huge when thought about on normal scales of distances. We don't know of any life that exists off of Earth. We haven't seen anything, and so basically we've looked around some of the planets. We don't see any evidence of life. You have to go really frickin' far to try and find anything that may have life on it. That's relatively inefficient. Why aren't there more stars, more planets that would have life on it?
Well, according
Why do we need any other stars and planets? If God said this is the one, then why are there anything else out there?
There's his supreme creation.
Yeah.
Why bother with billions
Exactly.
and billions of other stars?
Exactly.
If you got it right once, why make another?
Yeah.
Well, I think that there is life out there.
Okay.
There might very
would,
well be.
I would tend to agree, but my point is that we don't look to Mars and see life. We don't see cities being built on Mars. We don't see it anywhere in our solar system. I'm saying there could be life out there. The point is, it's pretty freaking far away.
Well, in all the other planets, there's elements that are on this planet also.
Yeah, rocks.
Sure.
Rocks and gas,
Different.
but
As far as we know, the laws of physics
And there
are the
might be
same everywhere.
microorganisms
Yeah.
on Europa, but
it's possible.
that's
Like some planets are more simple, or Earth is real complex.
Okay, but I mean, still, I guess, what's your question?
Well, do you believe in like free will and everything? You know, I mean, the right to
the first
choose.
approximation, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you actually define it and word it.
Tricky issue, but
yeah, I think I have control over my life. Yeah.
I mean, how much can we? I mean, we tend to think we have a lot more control than we do because of our egos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's a lot of stuff in my life that I don't have direct control over, but you know, I do with what I can. So.
I guess I just want to say more, but I guess I don't really have them. I'm not about that much right now.
Okay. If you come up with anything, we've got our website, which has a good fact list on it, so you might have some general questions answered there for you.
Message boards there.
Message boards.
Start discussions if you want to do something in public.
There's
or
also an email address for the TV show in general. Again, you or anybody else that's watching, tv@atheist-community.org. If you come up with any questions or anything like that, go ahead and drop us a note, and we'll answer you online.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much. I'll keep up good work.
Okay. Thanks, Colin.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. We've got 10 minutes left on the show. Just a quick final reminder. We're going to be going out to Chili's on the southeast corner of I-35 and 183 after the show. Be there around about 6:45. If you want to come down and meet us, please do.
Yeah, not just us, our crew as well. We have a great crew, great group of folks running the show behind the scenes.
Exactly. It's usually a pretty good crowd. So anyway, come down and meet us if you want. Let's go on to John. You there?
One more time. Y'all were laughing at original sin. Y'all can't do that because that's part of the dualism of our nature. Y'all were just talking about when the kid wants something, he knows it's wrong, but he overrides what he knows is right, which is part of the, quote, original sin, and he goes ahead and takes the toy anyway, even though he knows that that's not the right thing to do. So
how do you know? Why do you think that he knows that's the wrong thing to do?
On let's just say on a physics term, it's symbiotic. Let's just go psychosomatic illnesses.
Okay. But no, that doesn't answer the question. Why do you think that a 2-year-old knows it's wrong to just take a toy, for instance?
What's the indication?
Yeah, what's the indication that you have that he knows that that's wrong but does it anyway?
I think originally he knows when he's looking at the toy, he knows it's not his, and he just decides he wants it.
Yeah, but
but
he knows someone else has that toy, and he doesn't.
How can you have a notion of right and wrong about possessions if you don't know have any concept of ownership? Well, which children don't have. So I don't get it.
But we do have wants, and that's what we do know. We do know we want something.
Yeah, a child wants the toy, but that doesn't mean he knows that it's wrong to take it.
How do you get right and wrong from want?
Yeah, I mean, I view that as more of that's our learning ground.
Right.
You know, kids go to school and they learn that if they push somebody over and take their toy,
that's right, that
they may get the toy, but they don't get the friends to go with it.
Right.
And that kind of sucks.
Right.
And so that's why they learn that, okay, it's not good to take a toy because then nobody else likes me.
And toward our quest for higher consciousness, that's where we have those Ten Commandments and all those other things in order to direct us towards that, you know, knowing that we shouldn't, just because we want something doesn't mean, you know, that we can go get it.
Yeah. But again, there's rational reasons and explanations as to why that is the case. We have rational reasons that killing is bad and stealing is bad. Right. We don't need to invoke a higher power in God who says this good, this bad, to teach us that.
Well, God is just the penumbra. God's within the penumbra of all. I mean,
okay, penumbra is a shadow. That doesn't mean anything.
Well, you have to look at the different definitions of penumbra.
Okay, but still, I mean...
the shadows as the unknowing.
If this God is in everyone, how come, I mean, God is resorting to human methods to communicate to us, using literature and, you know, the Ten Commandments and books and, you know, other humans. Why can't he just communicate directly to us? Why can't he just instantaneously let me know?
He does, but we on the physical terms, and we as humans, we only see things as humans. So that's all we know is human, you know.
But if he's all powerful, he should be able to find a way that would you know, make it work. Now, whether that be being president of the United States or Jerry Springer, he should find a way that would communicate with people.
And if you can't understand that, are we then a flawed creation?
I think that we are still being evolved, and we're evolving into a greater people, let's just say.
So these earlier versions of us, essentially, what does God think of them? Are they condemned because they don't have the right knowledge, which we'll get in 200 years, you know, making up a number?
Because God didn't put it there?
It's kind of like karma.
Does God not care about those people, or?
I don't know whether, would you believe in karma? You know, what goes around comes around. I don't, but would you?
Not directly. I don't
not
believe
as a magic force.
Yeah, not as some kind of magic force.
I agree with you.
I think that you know, if you treat somebody badly, it's doing to others sort of thing.
If you're generally a nice person, I think people will generally tend to be nice to you. If you're, you know, a moron out there, then people tend to not like you all that much.
They'll see it. They'll see it. Anyway, that's what I was thinking. I think we're given the answer within ourselves, but sometimes we choose not to see the answer, and sometimes we defend what we do by not seeing the answers. So I'm gonna let you go, guys.
Okay.
I like this very much. I appreciate the intellectual debates.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sean. I tend to just not agree. I don't think that this is innate knowledge that, you know, we have at birth or given in some divine outside way. I think we learn that stealing is bad and killing is bad by either example or just, you know, rational thought. I think that is what tells us this is good and this is bad.
Some of our morals are innate in the sense that we're born with them. You know, we are social animals. We you know, are evolved to deal with being with other of our kind and have set up social structures, and there are rules that, you know, we are more or less programmed with to deal with that.
Because we've been living in this way for millions of years.
Yeah.
There are some things that are ingrained that you don't just automatically say, "Ooh, toy, want, take."
Yeah. So there was an experiment done pretty recently where a particular group of monkeys, I forget what
Capuchin monkeys.
Capuchin monkeys.
Yeah, I remember
they were shown to have an innate sense of fairness because they were very visibly upset when things were unfair.
Exactly.
And so I wouldn't say that God's putting that there. I'd say that that's an artifact of our evolution, and that we, you know, if we didn't have those things, we would be worse off as a species. So those are traits that we, you know, adopted over time because they helped us survive.
Yeah, but I think those traits came from a way that you can look at things, as in we're not born good, therefore we're good. I think we're good because over millennia.
Well, our notion of good is tied up in our social structures. Being
good is a social imperative. I mean, you have to if you're going to be a social species.
Sure.
And so basically, it's practical things that happened that kind of means it goes into your genes because, you know, it's just something that is good to have. But I don't know.
Right. We tend to chase murderers out of our tribes.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyway, a couple minutes left. We got time for probably one more call. Let's go on to John. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. How's it going?
Okay, what you got for us?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, where do you think rational thought comes from?
Wow. I mean, it's something that we have developed in the sense. Rational thought is how we describe, you know, a certain set of rules that we think by.
Sure. So, like, rational thought then could be, you know, it comes from God. That's what it is. I think you guys are looking too hard. Like, God doesn't talk to me, so God's not there.
Yeah, but you're putting an awful lot of
point. I think you're missing the entire point.
But I think you're putting an awful lot of complications in there. Rational thought is a method of thinking, basically. All of a sudden, having to invoke an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving external being who created universes, I think, is adding a lot on top of something.
But why do you think that's what God is? And all, you know, I don't.
Okay, do you have a different definition?
Your definition of God, maybe you're looking too hard.
Okay,
there.
Do you have a smaller definition of God?
I think, you know, we're all one. We're all connected. That's God. We're God. We're God. You're God. I'm God. We're all God.
God is the universe.
And we were created by something, right?
Oh, yeah.
So even if it was, do you believe in the Big Bang? Is that what you believe in?
That's what the evidence is pointing
have,
to.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so where did the two things in the Big Bang that collided? Where did that come from?
That's something that we're looking into.
Write us on the website. I'll send you a physics
where did
paper about
something
that.
had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, but where did God come
from? It didn't
from?
come out of nothingness. So that's what you call God.
Again, that's something that we're looking
God,
into.
then God exists.
That's God in the gaps. I don't know where it came from, therefore God exists. I don't consider anyone that. We have got to let you go. We have got like 10 seconds left.
Happy holidays.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks for calling, guys.
As for everybody, TV at atheist-community.org. If you got any questions or comments or anything like that, meet us at Chili's after this if you want to. See you in the new year.